Hello ladies and gentlemen, today is June 12th, 2013, and things are happening very fast, as you can tell. Notice that your attention is never allowed to remain on one subject for very long. In the military, that's called superior firepower, and it's called maneuver, okay? And they're doing that with the information systems to us today. All that's happening isn't an accident. It's to keep us off balance, never being able to resolve any one issue. As soon as we start getting close to something like on Benghazi, notice something else happens. Notice that this thing with Edward Snowden came out during this whole thing on Benghazi and the IRS and all these things. They're all related. I'm not saying that Snowden isn't the real deal. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's being manipulated to keep you off guard. If you're attacking an enemy, you do what are called feints, okay? Where you're pretending to come a certain distance to draw their attention to that part of the battlefield. And then you fall those forces back, and then you do a feint in another area. It's called testing the enemy, for one. Number two is they don't know where the main effort is. Okay? It's a battlefield tactic, but it's being used against us in this information war as well. Not that all the information that's coming out is incorrect or that it's manufactured, because that's not the case. They're orchestrating it like an orchestra conductor would, or a general on the battlefield, to keep the enemy off guard and confused, so that you can't discover what the main effort of the enemy is. Okay? So again, no dispersions on Snowden, no dispersions on the people coming forth about Benghazi Gate, or about Fast and Furious, or about the IRS, or about the DOJ, or about the DHS, or Northcom, or any of these things that are happening. Wars all around, the dollar coming up and falling, the stock market, everything is in chaos. These are to keep you from looking at the main effort. So, what I want you to do is to understand that the main effort, the main objective, is the destruction of the Republic of the United States, the dismantling of its supreme law of the land, the Constitution, and with the end game, the end objective being the destruction of our way of life and our very lives in the end. So how do you approach this? What is it that we need to do? Be aware that the enemy is using our government, our own government is using these. It's truthful. There's, like I said, with the Snowden thing and all this, it really is happening, but they're orchestrating it to their benefit. As soon as you start approaching one thing that's important, like Benghazi, they fire up some other thing so that your attention is drawn away from there. And one of my quick interjections here, I saw this one girl on YouTube where she says, "What do I think about NSA surveillance? I don't care. I don't have anything to worry about. I didn't do anything wrong." Or then you have somebody who says, when they hear about the IRS, "Well, I don't cheat on my taxes." Or you hear somebody from the DOJ or hears about the thing with the DOJ and the journalists, and they say, "Well, I'm not a journalist. I don't have anything to worry about." Or, "I'm not a Christian. I don't have anything to worry about." Or, "I'm not a vet. I don't have anything to worry about." You see my point? So it's the idea that they forget what the final objective is. So for us, again, the final objective, to sustain the Constitution no matter what. For the enemy, it's to dismantle it. There's only one way to defeat that, and that is that you look at your objective to defeat your enemy, and you do not allow those distractions from keeping you away from your final objective. They're doing it to you, all right? we need to do it back to them. And what is our objective? That anything that is contrary to the Constitution of the United States is unlawful, criminal, treasonous, and unconstitutional. We watch our lane. We watch what it is our objective is. And our objective is our constitutional republic, that it'll be saved for our posterity and ourselves, and that we preserve our lives in the process. So how do we go about doing this? I've already talked a little bit about it. Coming out of places that are not supportive of the Constitution, whether they be states, counties, or cities, and going to places where they are, because consolidation of forces is important. Secondly, if there is an encroachment, an armed encroachment by the federal government, to go support those local and state leaders who are countering it. All right? The Constitution, our republic, our freedom, our liberty is our objective. Now, that's kind of nebulous, like the war on terrorism. Frankly, you can't have a war on terror. Terrorism is a tactic. Okay? So, in some regards, talking about saving the Constitution is a tactic rather than an objective, which is true. So your objective should be, this is why I said it, to gather in places with like-minded people in as large a numbers as you can, preferably in states, but at a minimum in counties and in local cities, small towns. If you can secure that place, that objective, then we have a chance. Anything short of that is nothing but semantics. So my call for you to go to these places is to secure boots on the ground. You have your main objective, but you have to secure intermediate objectives to obtain the final objective. Do you understand? So all of us, we can just look at all of these things that are happening to us, to our freedoms, all of the different scandals that are breaking out. Not that they aren't real, but that they're being used to take our eyes off the final objective. Don't kid yourself. The final objective of the enemy is to take over our place, our land, and ultimately our minds and then our lives. So our objective has to be similar. Take places. Take them. And hold the local people responsible to you under all circumstances. Any and all circumstances. And this is a lot easier said than done, I realize it. But there is no other way. Okay? Not right now. I heard one of the commentators today, I was listening to actually a post he did yesterday, I won't mention who he was, but he said, it really is getting to the point where there has to be a supernatural intervention against this evil that is encroaching upon us. And of course he invoked Jesus, and that's fine. That's fine. But I just want to tell everybody, okay, you can believe that God will step in at some point in time. I certainly do. But I also understand that we are obligated to do all we can against evil. And after we have done all we can do, then maybe help will step in. This was interesting, the European Union is coming out saying they're all upset because they're being monitored. They've been monitoring their people for years. So, while we stay aware of all these things that are happening, and I'm going to bring up a few here, because you need the intelligence to know what's happening, let's keep all of our political leaders, so-called, every time they do this, we attack them with the Constitution. Every single time. We don't get pulled off on, whether this was a statutory change or whether it's really protecting us. It's always, you have violated your oath of office, the laws of the United States, which is the U.S. Constitution. That's where it always needs to be. And like I say, try to take places over, because that's what they've done. They've infiltrated and they've put their people to take over geographic locations. And we need to back them off of that. And there might not be enough time, but we've got to at least start there. I want to just mention, going back to the Snowden thing, that a lot of people are, all of a sudden now the demonization is coming in, the dismantling of his background, contrary information that he says what he did and where he lived and how much money he made, and all these things which are really immaterial. They're really immaterial. This man was an IT guy. Okay, he was a tech guy. At most, he was an analyst. He was not an agent. Okay, so he's not going to be really savvy in certain aspects of what he knows or what he's done or what he is trying to do. Very intelligent guy, but he's working against pros that have been at this for a long time. So we have to understand that. Okay, big deal about him going to Hong Kong. You know what? I don't like the Chinese either. But if I had done what he did, I'd probably have gone to Hong Kong too, for various reasons. Unfortunately, it's just the truth. It doesn't make him a Chinese asset. Matter of fact, I don't believe that for a minute. Remember, his actions are now going through like an ex post facto dismantling. That's not important. That's another sideshow. The issue is our government attacked our constitutional rights. End of story. Okay? Keep that in mind. One last thing I want to bring up, because, and I'm going to be careful how I say this because I know this is going to open up another hornet's nest. I'll just put it this way. Remember I told you that the powers that be are out to destroy our society from within, morally, as well as in other ways. I want to concentrate on this pedophilia thing for a minute, which is tied into all those other immoral actions that they are promoting in the media and everywhere else these days. Now you might say, well, they're not promoting pedophilia. You got to watch this, folks, because they are. All right? Remember I told you some time ago that Oregon instituted the Obamacare part where a child, I think as young as 15, can get an abortion without parents knowing about it. Okay? I told you that, or we know about the Jimmy Savile thing in the UK, all right? And that he was supplying children to, really high ups, maybe even the royals, okay, so-called. And now you have a movement in the EU, it's only by a barrister or two at this point, but I think it's going to grow, that they need to lower the age of consent for sex of a girl to 13, I think is the age. And the reason? To protect these old men. Same thing happened in the United States. It is going on right now. Obama just did what? The morning after pill. Any girl at any age can get it. Okay? What is that doing? That's setting a precedent for the age of consent, lowering it, or just doing away with it altogether. These are attacks by the dark side to destroy womanhood. And I've told you that a lot. It's right in your face. They're telling you what they're going to do before they do it. Just like I said. And this is the way they operate. So a lot of people are going to say, well, this is a women's rights issue. I heard another commentator bring this up. No, it is not. It is a human rights issue. And children deserve to be protected until they're older. And the state is obviously unwilling to do that in reality. They want control of those kids, and they're going to take every possible opportunity to take them out of your control. This is about saving humanity. And they don't want to save humanity. They want to destroy it. So let's, and I'm not using children as a reason. The politicians, they pick up kids and they want to be seen taking care of kids. You have Michelle Obama saying, oh, this is about the children. Oh, the anti-terrorism and the anti-gun stuff is always about the children. The difference is this. Does it take that responsibility out of the hand of the parent? And if it does, then the state is using it as a manipulation to usurp parental authority, which is wrong, which is contrary to natural law and our Constitution. They weren't given this power by the Constitution. It was one of the things that wasn't enumerated to the federal government, so they need to really lay off. It's to the states and to the people. It's their right. Not even the states in that regard, to the people. All right, well, a lot of crazy information here as far as trying to make sense of what's happening, but I haven't really given you a plan at this point other than this gathering principle. But I think you can see the tactics that are being used against us. So just be aware of that and apply it accordingly. Do not let your eye off the actual final objective, which is the preservation of primarily the Constitution of the United States, but in particular that Bill of Rights. Okay, those are